Hi, it's Nell, and today I'm going to be repotting my Philodendron Congo. So stick around to see how I do it and the soil mix I use. I upload videos on a regular basis here on YouTube, so if you like gardening videos, gardening indoors and out, be sure and hit subscribe because I have a lot in the archives for you and also a lot on the way. So I haven't had a green Congo before. I've had the Rojo, which is the red Congo, and I saw this when I was in San Diego last summer, and I was like, have to have it. But there are some roots showing out of the bottom, but the main reason I'm doing this is because the plant won't stand up on its own. It is really heavy on this side. These stems and these leaves are heavy, so it needs a bigger base. And after I get through repotting it, I might cut off a couple of these just because it's just, you know, sort of one-sided on this plant. So, and I haven't decided if I'm going to put it into an 8-inch or a 10-inch grow pot, but I will decide when I get over to my potting table and I take this out of the pot and I see just how dense the roots are. And this is a non-climbing, philodendron. It grows to about, indoors probably about 3 feet. It can grow in its native environment to about 5 feet. And its native environment is the forests of South America. So it's used to a very rich soil. And this is where the soil mix obviously comes in. I'm going to use a mix I blend for this, as I oftentimes do, because this is planted in a mix that is heavy into heavy peat moss. It may actually be all peat moss, but again, I will see, and you'll also see the mix when we get over to the potting table. So the best time to repot this plant is spring, summer, and early fall. I can do it a little bit later into fall where I am, but you don't want to do it in the winter or even in the mid-fall if you were in a colder climate, because plants like to rest when the weather cools down. And as you can see, this plant is putting out new growth. It's put out a few new leaves. It's the end of March, so come July or August it will probably have put out a lot more growth, and it has some strong, what looks like aerial roots growing along the surface of the soil here. So let's head on over and see how this root ball looks. You might notice that I'm wearing a different shirt now. I'm jumping in for just a minute. It is 5.5 months after the repotting, so you can see how the plant is doing. I'll give it a quick spin around. La 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 la. It's still a little lopsided. All the growth is still sort of, or some of it. It's got some nice new growth coming. So I'm putting this toward the light to fill in. But this leaf is very chopped up. I got this plant in San Diego, and I had so many plants in the car. It was just packed. So, whew, they're heavy. So I'm going to take off that one. The other two I'll probably take off when I do the care video, just so you can see. But again, today is September 14th. I filmed this on March 30th. It's not the video that I had planned on doing for this week. I was going to film 2 new videos today, but I have a major decision to make in a very short amount of time. Just kind of at the last minute, so you know how that is when you're just like ning, 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 ning. So I had this one, and I thought it's a very useful video because the Philodendron Congos are fabulous. So I was like, well, if it gets posted today or if it gets posted in 5 months, it's going to get posted at sometime. So I will be back. My next video, I plan on doing materials I use for houseplant gardening. like when I talk about the cocoa, the soil, all that, the different things, all those different things, as you can tell, I'm wound up like a dollar watch. And then I'm also going to film propagating pothos. So stay tuned for those coming up very soon. So let's go back in time and go to the repotting. Okay, so repotting coming up in about 30 seconds. I just wanted to show you, as long as I did this, here's where I cut the leaf off, in case you haven't ever done that on a plant like this before. I used a floral knife. It was easy to get in here. It's a little harder with pruners to get in there, but this is nice and sharp. I just made a clean cut as close to the base as I could, but without cutting off any of these stems. And this will heal over. Okay, now on to the repotting, I promise. Okay, so over at Ye Olde Potting Table, over on the right is my tub trug. I use that to collect the soil that I take off of the root ball, so I don't make too much of a mess. I make a mess anyway. And in the front is worm compost in the plastic. In the, you can't see it, it's a yogurt, it's a yogurt container. It's mostly hidden by the leaf. It's got compost in it, the 2 grow pots, of course the plant, and in the red pail is cocoa coir. And cocoa fiber comes in a really big brick, and you break it apart and you soak it, and it turns into this fibrous. It does just about the same thing that peat moss does, except that it's much more environmentally friendly. And then in the tin bin, I have my wonderful DIY succulent and cactus mix, which there will be a link to that down below in the description box, along with the blog post that goes along with this video. I want to repot this plant. Stand up, baby. Okay, I don't think the root ball is going to fall apart. I imagine it's going to be pretty tight root ball. Yeah. Oh my goodness, you can see the roots are, wrapping around here. Just like that. So what I think I'm going to do is I think I'm just going to go ahead and put it into the 10-inch plant, because the 10-inch plant. This is the 3rd repotting video I filmed. And I worked this morning too. I'm just going to go ahead and put it into the 10-inch because it's obviously a floor plant. It'll give it more room to grow, and it is in proportion to it just fine. And it has these really tough roots, and when I loosen the root ball, there's going to be even more roots. But I don't know if you can see, it's very much of a peaty soil, very rich soil, so that's why I'm going to use a lot of the cocoa coir. And here is a close-up on the roots. You can see those vigorous roots and how they are wrapping around, and they have also wrapped around the bottom too. Let's see if I can do this. Oh, oops. Oh yeah, baby. It says, repot me please, I'll grow for you like crazy. Oops. I'll also tip over. Okay, so this pot has a lot of drain holes in it, so I just put a single layer of newspaper on the bottom just to hold the soil in while the plant is settling in, so it doesn't all go running out. And I put a little bit of potting soil and succulent cactus mix on the bottom just to hold it down. The succulent cactus mix has some of the cocoa fiber in it, so instead of using pumice to maybe add a bit of drainage, because it's in the garage and I don't want to open the door again, I'm just going to use this succulent and cactus mix. But it's mainly going to be the cocoa coir and the potting soil. The potting soil I use is Ocean Forest, and I also use Happy Frog. I use both of them depending on what is going on. I have 2 bags of Ocean Forest and a bag of Happy Frog. I do a lot of... So what I'm doing is just loosening the roots a little bit because they are so tight. this is not like a gentle teasel. It's like I'm doing a nice to get them apart. And here you can see as some of them are starting to pull apart here, but they are very, very thick. Okay, now you just stay there, Bertha. I'm going to go ahead and get some potting soil in here. Yeah. And some coco coir. As I said, I'm doing it half and half. And because I want it to be nice and rich, I'm going to do some worm compost in here and a little bit of, oops, that's a compost. Let me get that out of the way so you can see better. And here's a little bit of worm compost in here. Not too much. I don't put too much in my houseplants, but that is good. Okay, let's see, a little bit more, but boy, I'm going to be glad when I don't have to prop this plant up. So what I'm going to do right now, because this is not even, pretending to stand up, I'm going to cut off this leaf here because it's throws it way off proportion, and I can use this in a flower arrangement. Beautiful. And I might cut off another one or two. I will see, but I want to get some more potting soil in here to see if this plant is going to stand up. I'm sure it will. It's just a matter of getting the mix in. So I'm gonna get that in, and then I'm gonna really compact it. Oh, it's starting to stand up. We are making progress, because this is an extremely lopsided plant, or heavy on one side. Yeah, that would be lopsided. I'm really pressing it down on this side to try to get it to lean a little bit more toward the other side. Just trying to put in more support in the way of potting soil and the cocoa fiber or the coco coir. Oh boy, I don't know if I got any of it in the pot. So that's what I'm doing here, just going around packing it down, and I think it is starting to stand up fairly straight now. I don't think I have to take off any more leaves, so that's good. And it has plenty of room to grow. And before I top it with the coco coir, I'm going to put in some worm compost, which is right here, about ½ inch layer. Here, I don't want to do too much because it is really rich. So, going to get that done. And here you can see where I topped it off with the cocoa fiber. It's very, very loose and very fluffy. And speaking of the Philodendron Congo Rojo, which might be a little bit more popular than the green one, you would repot it in exactly the same manner, same steps, using the same mix. All done. Here we go. Let's do the spin around so you can see. I'm happy because the plant stands up on its own, and the plant is happy because it is standing up on its own, and it has plenty of room to grow now. It's in a really great soil for it, so it should do some nice growing come the summertime when it really warms up. And I was going to take off this leaf, but it doesn't bother me as much now. I'm going to put this side toward the window, so it'll fill in a bit. But this is definitely one a plant that I rotate around towards the light, because it can get a little bit one-sided or two-sided. So that's what I will do with that beauty. And I'm going to be doing a care video on this probably in the fall. It's now the end of March, so stay tuned for that. It's a really easy plant to maintain. Very strong, as you can see from the roots system and the leaves, but it's all happy now because it has its mix that has a lot of the peat moss like has substance in there, which is the cocoa coir or the cocoa fiber. And because it was planted in that and it does love that, I did the half and a half. So that is the special blend on that. I think I've read where you can do it all in the peat moss or the cocoa coir, but I just prefer to put in some potting soil too, some good organic potting soil. And when repotting, you usually go up a pot size, but because this one was so pot bound and the roots were so tight and so strong, I went up 2 pot sizes. I went from a 6-inch to a 10-inch because I could tell by the end of the summer it would have outgrown the 8-inch pot. So, you know, it just depends on what conditions you have growing it in. So this will probably be fine in this pot. I'll see. You know, the good thing about having so many drain holes, I can see when those roots are coming out. It'll probably last for at least 2 or 3 years in this pot. And I will leave links to the materials used in the blog post, and also you can find them in my Amazon shop, which is on my website. Oh, I think there's also a link to the Amazon shop down below. Yes, there is. So I hope you have found this video about repotting a Philodendron Congo to be helpful. I have a lot more videos coming your way, so be sure to come back for more. I thank you for all your likes and your subscribes. They are much appreciated. Now let's get into our gardens, whether they be our outdoor gardens or our indoor gardens, and make our worlds a more beautiful place. As always, I thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you in the next video. Bye.